It's coming back to the question you had earlier, right? You see, it says Sufism was a reality, in the beginning it was a reality without a name. And now it's a name without a reality. Tasawwuf, they call it. Tasawwuf, not Sufism so much. It's a Western word, Sufi. They say, oh, Sufi from Suf, from Ahl Sufa, Suf, this, that. But what is it? Tariqat, they call it. Tasawwuf and Tariqat. Tariqat means way. What is it that the Sufis that they are doing? They are living a life imitating the life of the Prophet. That's all they did. Every Sahabi was a Sufi. Every Sahabi was living the Sunnah of the Prophet, ﷺ, both outside and internal. Every Sahabi was remembering Allah. Every Sahabi was knowing the specialness of the Prophet ﷺ. Every Sahabi is trying to internalize the gifts of Allah. Every Sahabi was trying to control their ego. So all these things that is in Sufism, they were doing it. Because now Sufism is also an internal knowledge. But the Prophet also gave permission to two of his Sahabis, two of his companions to teach. Abu Bakr and Ali. Hazrat Ali. Abu Bakr, he taught one way. For Hazrat Ali, he taught 40 ways. But the superiority of Hazrat Abu Bakr over Ali is well known. So this is when Sufism becomes the backbone of Islam. Hazrat Abu Bakr is the backbone of the nation, and Hazrat Ali, representing knowledge, is also the backbone. Without the backbone, the body flops. It can't move. It's paralyzed. No? But with the backbone, it can move. Now, this is, again, because all this is interconnected also. Once you have colonialism, once you lose contact with your history and with your culture and everything, then you don't know, you can't piece things together. Once you lost your language, then you have other people telling you, rewrite your history and tell you, look, this is your history. You start believing in that. So even if you go back to your own original history, you're going to be confused. Which one is real? Which one is true? From the time of Prophet ﷺ, then the Tabi'in, Hassan al-Basri, he was the earliest Sufi. Rabi'atul Adawiyah, he was the earliest Sufi. It goes on. These are all well documented too. And there are millions of undocumented Sufis. And they're all, what? Concentrating on the diseases of the soul, of the spirit. And how to come closer to Allah. Everything has its support from the Quran and from the Hadith. They don't deviate any more than that. Some things may expand, but it's always traced back to the Quran and the Hadith. So, when Islam started spreading to all other nations too, they were first carried out by Sufis. When Islam first came, first it was Sahabis who went. Now they're discovering, for example, tombs of Sahabis all the way in China, in Malaysia, Indonesia, even here in the United States. They found certain graves of the companions of the prophets that they're trying to keep also quiet about it. But these ones, 1400 years ago, they sailed and they put a claim, they put their flag there for next generation to come to do some things, next wave and the next wave and the next wave. First waves, the Sufis, they came. In India, in Indonesia, in China, they came. And they understood the people. Slowly they introduced the people to Islam by way of them, by the light of the Prophet. They made the people, their hearts to become soft for them to love Islam. They weren't really concerned about all the particulars yet, because they just come new. Next generation, next generation. It is not, as we read in the history books too, oh, Islam, either it came incidentally to people, traders who come and they just spread Islam. That's bad enough, but what's even worse is the implication that the Muslims, they are just interested in dunya. They're just businessmen interested to make a quick buck, and by the way, they spread Islam. As if the spread of Islam is not something that is central in a Muslim's mind, in the Muslim ruler's mind. Prophet sent delegations at that time, specifically to spread Islam. Why would they suddenly drop and just send some Arab businessmen to trade in spices and teaching people how to pray and suddenly they became Muslims? It's not arbitrary, that's very arbitrary. But Islam, the spread of Islam is not everything is planned. So, during the Prophet's time, yes, all our practices that we have, from hadra, standing up and praising, to jumping up and down and reciting zikr, to sitting, to being quiet, to having a tasbih, mawlid, making rabita, all these things can be traced directly to, even textually, to what the companions of the Prophet did, alayhi salatu wasalam. Now, especially during the time of the Ottomans, Sufism is the allegiance to a Shaykh. Accepting it is common. It is not alternative or unorthodox or extra or optional. Everyone believed in awliyaullah, everyone had a Shaykh. The sultans, they are sheikhs. The pashas, they are sheikhs. The administrators, the street sweepers, the butchers, everyone belonged to a sheikh. Everyone belonged to a dergah. The entire empire would shut down every Thursday night to make zikr. It's unthinkable. Imagine the whole of Little Rock on Thursday night shut down, everyone make zikr. What a tremendous rahmat is that? What if the whole of the state of Arkansas? Unthinkable, isn't it? Now we had a complete empire that shut down Thursday nights just to make zikr. How beautiful is that? But right now we cannot even fathom that, because we've come so underground that major, almost all masjids forbid zikr. And the idea is that zikr is bid'ah. Little kid comes to me, the thing was your son came to me, saying dress up in school is dress as your hero day. He dressed wearing a turban and a thobe. He says, I dress as my hero, a Sahabi. And the other Arab kids say, why are you wearing this? I said, because I'm dressed as Sahabi. Oh, are you one of those people who make zikr? He says, yes. Are you even allowed to do that? That's haram. Little kids. They're already indoctrinated now. How are you going to get rid of that? Because this notion of like haram puts them in a superior position. They think that they are saved, everyone else is damned. So it comes from a position of pride. It's not knowledge, it's pride. How are you going to get rid of pride? A very difficult process. So, it is something that has always been integral to Islam.
I think when that question is asked frequently, the focus of the question is on the methodology.
Yes.
And I wonder if you would agree. My sense is that at the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and Sahaba and Tabi'een,
Yes.
their level was so intense and high that this type of methodology was not required. Like for example, if somebody comes to you and you are training him, you may have a certain way to train, but those people within seconds when they went to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they were trained by the, by the very fact that that is an entirely different level.
Right.
So when people say, was this kind of Sufism there, they are not recognizing that this methodology was not needed at that time. Just the presence of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the fact that the person who came has accepted him as his master, this was enough for them to go through instantaneous training. Versus in today's age and time, the Shaykh may have to devise a method and may have to customize the training for his murid. So
yeah, I would add to that. I would add to that though, that not all the Sahabis and the Tabi'in, they're of the same rank.
Sure.
Okay? Hazrat Abu Bakr, Hazrat Ali, instantaneous. Then there are others. I don't like to divide the Sahabis, but they come in different categories also.
Sure.
Hazrat Abu Sufyan is different. He didn't accept Islam until the conquest of Mecca. So his status cannot be the same as Hazrat Ali.
Sure.
But he would also receive spiritual training. Then there are those that accepted and later they also denied. Like Ibn Salama, he also denied. And the same thing with the Tabi'ins also. Some of them, it's very direct and it's easy, but some of them it takes years and some of them it takes generations for it to kick in. So if you tell me precisely, I mean the kind of methodology, customizing each of them, I would better answer this, but I do know from what knowledge that I've learned from our Shaykh is that the methodology does not, especially, and let me speak from just my own experience, I'm not going to interpolate from others' experience. Our own gatherings. And that is modeled after the Prophet. And it is small, it is family oriented, and it is based on discipline. And it is not for everyone, because not everyone would get that such a discipline is important. And it is to come, but the idea is to make everyone to rise up to the level of Hazrat Abu Bakr. It's impossible, but the awliya Allah and the prophets is not to make us to stay stuck or to go down lower, but it's always to lift us up as high as we can, as high as they can. So their methodologies, it is slightly different and it has to be, but the purpose is the same, is to make the person to become what? Insani Kamil, the perfect man. Maybe it's impossible, but it's according to the intention now. So the certain things, if you have the foundation is there, then from that foundation you have what you call the pillars that are there. Then when it is anchored according to the permission that is given to you, you can go in even in the opposite direction, because the whole idea now is anchored. You need to go to the opposite direction now to draw this person out for him to become Insani Kamil. So that time permission it is given, because the mindset, the physiology, the emotions and the intelligence of 7th century Arabia is completely different from 17th century Arabia, let alone 17th century India or China or the Balkans. Now 21st century is completely different now. Islam is a living religion, it's not a dead religion, it's a living religion. And it's the only religion that continues to live and to thrive precisely because we have these protectors of the religion, the Hafizes, the protectors of the religion, that understand the nature of man and the nature of the ego and how to draw the spirit out from that ego. And that ego may differ at any moment, at any time, in any place. So it has to be. The problem with Salafism and Wahhabism is just like the communists. They want to just start all over again. Wipe everything out, start from year zero, like in Saigon. Just finish everything, no civilization, start all over anew. They want to recreate 7th century Arabia. Muslims should all be Arab speakers, wear white thawb, be fundamentalists in that way, in their own mind. There is no, I'm not talking evolution, but there's no adaptation, there's no life, there's no branching out, development of Islam. In their minds, it is that, because this is what they learn in the books. They live in the deserts, they do this, and it didn't even work for them. Look now, hardly 100 years have passed, they're not exactly living in tents, living completely Sunnat lifestyle of the Sahabis. They have not only the highest level of technology, they have so much gold that their toilet seats are made of gold. So even in their own ideology, they have betrayed themselves. because it's untenable, it's unworkable. You can't do that because it's against the Sunnah. That's not how it is. I remember talking to Abazali, okay? He's Egyptian, coming from Georgian background. Our forefathers came from Georgia. He was like, he said, the Wahhabis especially, they hate the people from the Hijaz at that time. Now they came from Najd, but the people who live in the major cities in the Hijaz, Mecca for instance, at that time, the people in Mecca and Medina, they were the most sophisticated Muslims living in the world. They have the most manners, they have wealth, but more than that, they have knowledge, and they're very sophisticated. They're not what we think today's Arabs are in the Hijaz, they're very straight, you know, they're, no. And they hated that kind of culture, and they came and they destroyed all of that. So it's very different. The mindset's completely different. That's as much as I know.